What is intentional homemaking? Well, today I wanted to dive into what intentional homemaking is all about and what it means to be an intentional homemaker. For better or worse, homemaking is getting a lot of buzz on the internet these days, and overall, I'm so happy to see it because it's definitely something that needs to be seen and acknowledged because overall, whether we are working, single, stay at home, whether we're traditional or non-traditional, we are all homemakers in some sense of the word. Anyone who has a home or has a place where they go at the end of the day is a homemaker, especially anyone that has family or loved ones is a homemaker. And when we can be conscious about the kind of homemaker that we are, the kind of homemaking we want to do, it can change everything and it can be so powerful. So I'm going to share a few things that I believe define intentional homemaking. The first is that intentional homemaking is the deliberate practice of creating a comfortable and nurturing home environment, or a haven, as I like to say. I remember one of my friends' parents said to my mom at one point in time that they were so grateful that she was making a safe place to land for their daughter, that whenever she came over to hang out with me, it was our home was just a safe place to land for her, for whoever came and visited, for us, And I really feel like that resonated with me, and that's something that stuck with me throughout my life because I want to create a home that feels like a haven for myself and for those I love, and that is their safe place to land. Number 2, it involves making thoughtful and purposeful choices when it comes to managing the household, such as organizing and decorating the space, meal planning, and budgeting. Basically, the tasks that go into making a home aren't forgotten, overlooked, or taken for granted. That we realize that the things that go into keeping a home can be done with thought and even creativity. I feel like it's not just intentional homemaking isn't perfectionism homemaking, where it's all about trying to do everything perfectly and putting a lot of pressure on yourself to do everything right or in a right way or in a certain way. That's not what it's about. Instead, it's about being intentional about your opportunities to bring yourself to the different tasks and demands of homemaking. Number 3, intentional homemaking also includes prioritizing self-care and taking time for relaxation and rejuvenation within the home. It's knowing when to stop on the domestic tasks and start on domestic enjoyment. Knowing when it's time to take time for your spouse or partner and enjoy their company and watch a movie, or time to spend with your children doing a task that might just make a mess and undo all your hard work. Knowing when it's time to go take a long bath and read a book, or do some skincare, or go on a walk. It's creating opportunities of rejuvenation and peace within your home, because a home that is not lived in, that's not relaxed in, that's not that peace isn't experienced in, can't truly be a haven, no matter how beautiful and organized and well decorated and structured it is. Number 4, it requires being mindful of how daily routines and activities can contribute to a positive atmosphere in the home. And I count traditions, weekly and daily traditions in with this as well. That the daily routines that we follow as homemakers, not even just the daily routines we set up for our family and our children as well, but even the daily routines and activities that we follow as homemakers are what our children and our loved ones will remember us by in some ways. Like, I remember the little habits of my families, like on Saturday mornings when my dad and mom would open all the windows. We lived in southern Arizona at the time, and so the weather was almost beautiful year round, at very least in the early mornings. So they would open all the windows and turn on music and get to cleaning usually the same kinds of music or the same playlists. And I remember, even though I didn't necessarily like cleaning days in and of themselves, I remember how good it felt to wake up in the morning and the house was starting to smell clean and the air felt so nice, and sitting down to eat my cereal at the table, like, it's super fond memories and super specific for me. So the things that we see our children, or that our children see us doing on the daily, will be things that they'll always remember us by and associate with us, and it'll affect their associations as they grow up as well, and things that they do. Having routines and activities that we are mindful of how they contribute to the atmosphere in the home and basically the vibes that we're building. As homemakers, we are vibe builders. We are trying to curate and design a specific vibe in our homes that fits us and encourage us and those that we love. Overall, number 5 is that this approach to homemaking encourages creativity, resourcefulness, and finding joy in the mundane tasks. It's taking an artist's perspective at these daily, traditionally mundane tasks and finding ways that we can put our own spin on them or make them more enjoyable and make them an experience rather than just a to-do list item. Number 6 is that it also involves setting goals and working towards creating a functional, welcoming, and enjoyable home for all the members of the household. Again, I think partly because homemaking has been taken for granted for so long by society, the idea of taking like executive skills like goal setting or creative skills even, and applying it into homemaking is almost foreign to us again, when it used to be so much of how homes were run, you know? Having friends back in the 50s that other homemakers could kind of be like, oh yeah, I did this in the home recently and the kids loved it, or we have this goal to do this, or I'm trying to learn how to do this, and that they were able to encourage each other really made a big difference. And now we're getting a little bit of that back, and that's what I hope that our domestic daydreams community can do is that it'll help inspire and encourage all of you guys to interact with each other and celebrate each other as we celebrate you. And it's just, we've lost sight of those things. Applying that creativity, it's almost like you would a career. Careers are taken so seriously because they're considered, almost lifelong goals and tasks, right? And so is homemaking. It's something that we can bring our best selves to. So number 7 is that intentional homemaking recognizes the importance of balancing responsibilities with self-expression. It's about allowing individuals to make their homes a true reflection of themselves and their family values. Finding opportunities, it's easy to get lost in being mom or being wife. And in some ways that's good, to lose ourselves and focus on serving and loving others. But in other ways, homemaking can be an opportunity for self-expression and bringing your best self to the table and reflecting it in your environment and how you love your family and how you love your home and how you show up in your home. And it's important to do that for us. My husband talks about how all of the incredible things that his mother used to do. She's like the best mother-in-law I could ever hope for. She's awesome. And I find so many similarities in us. Like, we just get along so well. But she used to do it, it was important to her to make her homemaking, even though she was a working mother. She did express herself in her homemaking, and she does, she'll make her pot holders. She tried to make events and holidays and dinners special, just different things like that. And he talks about how bad he feels that as a teenager, especially, he kind of crapped on those. Like, he didn't, and even into a little bit his early adulthood, didn't support and encourage those moments. And he feels super terrible about it now. And he, hoped that he would find a wife that would be similar in those desires and those efforts. And he says all the time that he's going to be frustrated with his kids if he sees with our kids, if he sees them doing the same thing to me. But basically, my point in that is that there's still so many wonderful things that she does that she didn't stop doing. And I think that's so important, because part of our homemaking needs to be, a good chunk of our homemaking and the self-expression that we infuse it with needs to be done for ourselves, almost as an act of self-love, and telling and showing ourselves that we deserve special things. We deserve to be nurtured. We deserve to have a beautiful home or a beautiful experience. And so that when our kids or when our spouse may not appreciate those things, we don't get resentful because, oh, look at all I'm doing for you. That it can be, well, I enjoyed this, So making our favorite meals once in a while, adding candles to the dinner table or pretty tableware if that's something that we enjoy, or setting up a fun family activity or a weekly tradition, and even just enjoying it ourselves sometimes when not everyone can participate. Whatever it is, taking that perspective of homemaking for self-expression and self-love is super crucial, so that we don't build resentment, and also so that the family can enjoy it without strings attached. Sometimes it can feel like a lot of pressure to sign off our approval as family members to someone else's experience and goals. And while we absolutely should be supportive, it is nice to relieve some of that pressure. have things organized how I need it. I was not always an organized person. I was not always a clean person. And I was always a motivated person in the sense that there was always projects I was working on or things that I was learning in school. And it was really hard to learn or to work or whatever it may be in a cluttered environment. It was always weighing on my head. And even now when I get behind on my homemaking, despite it being something that I can quickly recover from thanks to my routines, it still can take up so much mental space. It's important to acknowledge as homemakers that our homes do have an impact on us. In fact, they probably have the biggest impact on us and on our families and how we enter the world every day. It's the foundation that we work from. And so the importance of that isn't to guilt ourselves into having an organized or well-maintained home, but to value our efforts in organizing and maintaining our home and to realize that those efforts are so much more than just checking off a to-do list and, oh, well, I guess I cleaned the house today. It's about realizing the huge impact that cleaning the house that day has on everyone's mental and physical health. And valuing that and valuing yourself and celebrating yourself for it. Number 10, and finally, is that ultimately intentional homemaking is about making conscious choices to create a space that promotes happiness, love, comfort, and growth for yourself and your loved ones. It's basically taking all of those things that we talked about and summarizing it down to just knowing that the things that you do in your home and the home that you create matters, and that you can take the best pieces of yourself. You can take your brain, your heart, your body, and you can put it into your home, express your ideas, and create a special environment that's unique to you and your family and can be a safe haven for those you love, and even an extension of that to those that the ones you love, family and friends. So I hope that gave you guys a good idea of what intentional homemaking is all about and helped kind of inspire you to look at homemaking differently, that it's not just the mundane tasks or the to-do list that needs to get accomplished or a weight on your shoulders, but instead it's a calling that all of us have and all of us can contribute to in our own homes. And I can't wait to see you back here again next time. Hey there, domestic darling. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Domestic Daydreams podcast. Be sure to check the show notes for any important links or freebies that I may have mentioned, and we'll see you next time.